What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Sports Talk of Elite Wages. I'm your host, Elite Wages, and this is going to be the AFC conference preview for the upcoming NFL season. I've previously done the NFC, and now we're on to the other half of the league, the AFC. As always, I want to start off by sending you over to my Twitter. Make sure you click that big blue follow button, like and retweet my NFL previews. Basically so more people can watch them and gain a little bit of knowledge that I'm giving out every week. Just before we start the preview, I want to take you over to this tweet here, pinned tweet at the top of my profile. I'm going to be giving away 3 free tickets into the fantasy contest over on FanTeam. All you've got to do is click on this tweet, like, retweet and comment NFL to be entered. You've got until next Tuesday, and I'll be announcing the winners next Tuesday. So make sure if you're interested in fantasy football for the NFL, then you need to get into this competition. As previously mentioned as well, this is obviously the AFC preview. I'm going to be doing a futures bet episode, outright bets, futures bets for the upcoming NFL season. So if you don't want to miss those, you need to go over to my YouTube as well. Click that big red subscribe button, turn the notifications on, click the bell at the top, turn notifications on so you do not miss a single episode. As you can see there, NFC preview has been posted. Also got my EPL episodes there. But again, make sure you share those to get more people to watch and give it a watch and a listen and things like that to gain a little bit more knowledge. And then also I wanted to send you all over to my guy, Daily College Bets. Mentioned it on the NFC preview the other day. He is the go-to guy for anything college football. As you can see, he's dropped his previews for each of the conferences within college football. If you're new to college football, you need to give these a listen. If you're not new and you just simply want to win money every weekend, still go over to this guy, drop him a sub, tell him your boy Elite Wages has got you. You'll also see a lot more from myself and Daly in a couple of days' time, where we are dropping some collaboration bets that we've got for the NFL future bet market. So make sure you drop him a follow on Twitter too. So let's get into the AFC conference. Okay, so let's get into the AFC East, starting with the Buffalo Bills. 13-4, winning the division, second overall seed in the conference. A very good attack last year. Elite scoring attack, actually. 525 points, 30 points per game on average, 63 touchdowns for opponents, 21 points per game on average, 43 touchdowns. So very efficient and effective on both sides of the ball, finishing in top of both areas. Passing game was that has to be with Josh Allen. Even without Stephon Diggs and Gabriel Davis, they still did very, very well on the throwing side of the ball. Had a lot of receivers helping. Shakir and Coleman being the 1-2 guys for him this year. James Cook also having a solid year for the team. I think the main focus for the offseason was some offensive weapons, keeping them healthy. Maybe adding a few more names into that area of the field, and trying to solidify the defense, even more. So they did just that. They brought in Josh Palmer and Elijah Moore for a little bit of depth in the receiver room. Added some pieces on the offensive line as well. A little bit of depth pieces and things like that to try and keep him nice and upright. And obviously you've already got Ed Oliver, and now you bring in Joey Bosa. Larry Ogunjobi as well, who will start on the suspended list, but a very good player when he does come back. Trey White comes back. Taylor Rapp comes back as well. Obviously you lose Von Miller, you lose Rasul Douglas, but you add in a few veteran players that can help solidify this team again on defense. And I think they're pretty much going to run away with this division again, as they did last year. Moving on to the Miami Dolphins, had a mediocre year, 8-9, finishing second in the division. Offensively, did not do as good. 345 points in total, 20 points per game on average. Defensively, very similar, averaging 21 points allowed, 364 with 35 touchdowns allowed. So defensively, allowing more points than they score, which obviously isn't the best thing to do when you're playing in the NFL. Defense was league, average, below average. Offense had a huge drop off, but obviously Tua did miss a lot of time last year. Only played 11 games, resulted in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle not having their best years. Achan did do fairly well, but again, as a whole, the team didn't really do too well. So I think a major area that they need to improve on was the offensive line. Maybe a few more weapons on the offense as well. And they did that a little bit. Nick Westbrook-Akine coming in, Malik Washington as well. A few players on the offensive line which were needed. Defensively, you get Bradley Chubb back from injury. Trade for Minkah Fitzpatrick, and obviously Jalen Ramsey going the other way. Rasul Douglas comes in, which is a nice acquisition from the Bills, and then a nice pass catcher in Darren Waller as well. So if Tua can stay healthy, if this offensive line can keep Tua upright, they have the potential to blow up this league. But for me, I just don't trust that he's going to stay healthy. New England Patriots next. Poor year last year, 14-3, finishing bottom of the division. Offensively, very, very poor. Actually, both the ball very, very poor. 289 points for the team. 417 points allowed, averaging 17 for themselves and nearly a touchdown more per game for their opponents. Do, however, have some nice stepping stones for the next coming years. Drake May showing flashes that he can be a nice quarterback in this league. Ramondre Stevenson as well, having a very good year on the ground. Demario Douglas also showing that he can be a top receiver in this league, and especially for Drake May. I think that's what they needed most in the off-season was some pass catchers for Drake May. Maybe a few more defensive players, core defensive players. They bring in Josh Dobbs for a little bit of depth for, just in case Drake May does get hurt. They bring in Stephon Diggs to be wide receiver 1, which is a huge acquisition. Adding Williams as well in the draft, a very solid receiver. Mac Hollins too. All very good pass catching options for Drake May. The biggest one here, Will Campbell from Michigan, coming in the draft, trying to solidify that pass protection for Drake May. Defensive side of the ball, bringing in Tonga, Milton Williams as well, being a nice addition on the pass rush. Harold Landry in the middle, in the linebacker area. Who else is there? Carlton Davis III as well, linking up with Jabril Peppers in the secondary. So all in all, they do have a nice, solid sort of base for the team. It's whether or not they can all stay healthy and gel together and play well together in the next coming year. Again, as well, Mike Vrabel being one of the best acquisitions of any team in the league next year for this upcoming season is a huge one for the team. Moving on to the New York Jets, another team that didn't play too well. Played a little bit better, 5 wins, 12 losses, 3rd in the division. 338 total points, averaging 19 points per game. Opponents averaging nearly 24 with 404 total points. Both scoring the same amount of touchdowns though, 40 touchdowns for the two. Obviously they've got talent on this team. Last year had a pretty good on-team paper. Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson being a young star. Obviously Breece Hall as well being another young star. So they do have a lot of stepping stones to head in the right direction. I think the offensive line was the main issue last year. Just trying to stabilise the offensive line. And the sort of secondary on defense was their main area to improve on in the offseason. In my opinion, they got Justin Fields, which I think he's going to do a lot better than Aaron Rodgers did last year. Breece Hall, obviously, with Garrett Wilson, adding in Josh Reynolds, who had a few good years in Detroit. Adding a few players on the offensive line. But, they didn't sort of add too many good players on the defensive side of the ball. Quincy Williams, Sauce Gardner, and Quinnen Williams being the three main ones. But again, adding Harrison Phillips and Juwan Briggs isn't going to sort of break them into the top two of this division. So my prediction for this division is actually going to be as it is here. I think it's going to be Buffalo Bills, Miami Dolphins, New England Patriots, and then New York Jets. Moving on to, we'll go AFC North. But we'll start off with the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, poor season from them last year. 3-14 record. Technically or statistically, the worst scoring offense in the league. Only scoring 258 points, averaging 15.2 points per game, which is, awful. They lack the, offensive power, offensive talent. They had a huge point differential in the negative term, only scoring 29 touchdowns but allowing 50, so there's a 21 touchdown differential there. Also, a lot of touchdown scores for the opposite team, a 10-point differential per game as well. Not too many good players all over on either side of the ball, really. Obviously, have some young players that can be good. Denzel Ward, Grant Delpit as well. But Nick Chubb going down was bad for them. There's not much else about this offense that was, really any good. So I think that was the main part that needed to focus on in the offseason, trying to upgrade the offense, get a decent quarterback, try and get a few more defensive players. And they still struggle to do that, really. They traded for Kenny Pickett and then traded him away. They signed a few defensive players on the defensive side of the ball. Malik Collins, Shoyonka there. But again, when you look at this team, it doesn't scream best defense in the league. Obviously, you've got Myles Garrett, but he can't carry this team on his own. Offensively, Joe Flacco, neither backup is any good, really. Jerome Ford is okay. Jerry Jeudy is okay. David Njoku is okay. But this team isn't going to do well for me at all. I think that's enough said for that team. So we'll move on to the next team in this division. And we'll go to the Cincinnati Bengals. 9-8 record last year. Third in the division. Obviously known for being a high-powered offense with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase and co. Scoring 472 total points. Averaging 27.8, 55 touchdowns scored, but defensively not doing very good either, allowing 25 points per game on average. 52 total touchdowns. A lot of defensive inconsistency within the team. Obviously, that prevented them from having a better record, really. Obviously, Joe Burrow throwing for nearly 5,000 yards. Chase Brown rushing for 990 was a nice addition to the team. Jamar Chase, 1,700 receiving yards for him. Adding in 17 touchdowns. Absolutely insane. T. Higgins being a nice contributor as well for the team. So obviously, the strength was scoring ability. It was just the defensive side of the ball which wasn't very good for them. So that was a huge off-season problem, if you like, needing to shore up that defense. And they didn't do too much. Off-season was basically trying to secure these two, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, which they did. Joe Burrow, obviously a very good passer, so giving him those two targets is a must. Chase Brown was a nice running back piece for the team, giving them a little bit of depth in the other side of the ball. Didn't really do much to the offensive line. Orlando Brown Jr. hasn't played his best in many years. But again, didn't really add too many good players in the off season. Oren Burks, a very good linebacker. But yeah, it all looks very, very similar. Trey Hendrickson did get his contract extension as well. So, those sort of players, they don't have the headache of trying to get contract extensions done. But again, didn't do enough, in my opinion, to contend for this division. We'll move on to the next team, which is going to be the Baltimore Ravens. They actually won the division, 12-5 record. Very, very high scoring, powerhouse offense, if you like. 518 total points for the team, averaging 30.5 per game, which is top 3 in the NFL, so a top 3 offense. Defensively, very, very effective as well, averaging 21 points allowed, only 39 touchdowns, 361 total points for opposition, so very good defensively. Defense as well has been a top 3 offense. Obviously, very, very good offense, dynamic in terms of the passing. Lamar Jackson over 4,000 yards, also had 900 rushing, and nearly having Derrick Henry. He had 200 scrimmage yards, did Derrick Henry. Zay Flowers being a 1,000-yard pass receiver. And then, all-rounded offense, playing very, very well. They did have a little bit of a weakness in sort of the secondary on occasion. You can see there, Marlon Humphrey getting 6 interceptions was a huge boost for that team. Roquan Smith, Hamilton being the leaders in tackles, but they didn't have, outside of Kyle Van Noy, didn't really have too many pass rush players get into the opposition quarterback, which left them a little bit susceptible to the deep ball. And I think that would have been the main thing for the offseason, was trying to maintain the offense, keeping them as they were, keeping them all playing at sort of MVP caliber. Lamar Jackson, in my opinion, should have got MVP. Trying to update that secondary, maybe get a little bit more depth within the team in that secondary, but again, very solid offensive line. Where is it now? Offensive tackle Ronnie Staley as well, coming in. Signed DeAndre Hopkins for another pass catching option with Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers. Obviously, Derrick Henry being a very good running back anyway. So this attack is looking very, very stacked. Bringing in no sort of big stars on defense, as I said they needed to. Losing Justin Reed left them a little bit shy, but again, adding some players in the draft for some depth and things like that, I think they will be okay. I think they will continue to run this division. And then finally to the Pittsburgh Steelers, which I am relatively high on for next season. A 10-7 record last year. Sort of a well-rounded team last year. Did have a little bit of a struggle in the quarterback room with Russ Wilson and Justin Fields, but again, finished fairly strongly on offense. 22 points per game, 380 in total, 37 touchdowns. Coincidentally, allowing 37 touchdowns to the opponents as well. 20 points per game on average. So defensively better than the offense in a lot of the games last year. Defensively playing very, very good. Veteran playmakers coming up big. Patrick Queen being a huge part of their defense, leading the team in tackles. Obviously, TJ Watt being the sack leader as normal. A few interceptions for Bishop Jr. and Dante Jackson as well, which I didn't notice that before on my notes. But in terms of the team for next year, the main focus was updating the offense and the pass protection for the offense, the offensive playmakers, and some depth in defense. And that's exactly what they did. They added Aaron Rodgers, who I said before wasn't a good fit for the New York Jets. I think this is a nice fit for him. They drafted Caleb Johnson, a very, very good running back, and obviously Jaylen Warren, a very good pass catcher out the backfield. DK Metcalf coming in for George Pickens, which is an upgrade. Roman Wilson is now finally healthy as well, so he'll have his first full season as a Steeler. And then obviously Jonnu Smith coming to the team as well, so a very nice pass catching team. Nice two running backs as well. A few new faces in the depth of the offensive tackle and the offensive line to protect Aaron Rodgers. Defensively, obviously, when you've got TG Watt, you've always got a huge chance of winning. Darius Slay also coming into this defense from the Eagles, and then obviously Jalen Ramsey as well coming in. Basically, those two coming in for Minkah Fitzpatrick. So I think they upgraded the defense quite well, and they definitely upgraded the offense. So I think they can make waves within this division next year. But in terms of the prediction, I think the Baltimore Ravens are just too good. But I do think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to jump up into second place and take the second place spot again. So Ravens, Steelers, Bengals and Browns, similar to last year. Division winners, Houston Texans, 10-7 record last year for the Texans. Sort of mediocre season. This is obviously a weaker division in the NFL. Mediocre season for the Houston Texans based on 2023. Obviously, they were expected to make a huge improvement on what they did in 2023. Actually took a step backwards. So middle of the pack scoring, 21 points per game on average, 372 total points, only 37 touchdowns. Their defense allowing the same points, but allowing 42 touchdowns. So defensively, defensively and offensively, very, very well balanced in terms of the team. Obviously, still got a young quarterback, CJ Stroud. He is a decent quarterback. Maybe slipped up a little bit, but it wasn't necessarily his fault. They had a lot of injuries. Stephon Diggs didn't play a full season. Nico Collins obviously missed time. Tank Dell's obviously gone down for the year with an ACL as well. So it can kind of be excused a little bit. Joe Mixon, solid running year for the Texans. But in terms of the defense, it was a little bit hit and miss. No sort of solid tackler, if you like. Obviously, Hunter, Will Anderson Jr. getting the sacks. Obviously, 23 sacks between the two. Stingley Jr. 5 interceptions. So they do have some pieces on offense that they can, offense and defense that they can build upon next year. But they do need to sort of increase that offensive line protection, and then add a little bit more depth within the team. I feel like they did fairly well in the off-season for additions and acquisitions and things. Obviously bringing in Nick Chubb, which is a nice addition, if you like, considering Joe Mixon is going to be out for the season. Losing Stephon Diggs wasn't ideal, and obviously Tank Dell out for the season as well. Christian Kirk does come in for Stephon Diggs. Obviously, he's nowhere near the same level, but it's an addition. He's got someone else to pass to, and I'm pretty certain he'll make it work. In terms of the offensive line, brought in Cam Robinson, Tomlinson, Ed Ingram as well for a little bit of depth. So they have added a lot of players to help protect CJ Stroud on this offense, and I think they've done some nice things. Will Anderson Jr. and Daniel Hunter, with Al Shahir, all stay. Stingley Jr. Obviously stays. CJ Gardner-Johnson comes in to that secondary, which is a nice addition. But again, I forgot to mention here, you're going to miss left tackle Laremy Tunsil, obviously leaving that left side of the CJ Stroud offensive line. So that could be a huge loss for him this season. But all in all, I think they had a fairly nice offseason. They lost a few big names, Stephon Diggs, Tunsil, and things like that. But again, this is a weaker division, and I think they'll be just fine in this division. So the next team we're going to go for is going to be the Indianapolis Colts. 8-9 record last year. Average output last year, really. A little bit of a struggle in their quarterback room with Anthony Richardson. Struggled to get it going, really. played 11 games. Joe Flacco obviously played a few games for them as well. Moved on from Joe Flacco actually in the off-season. Jonathan Taylor being their main productive player, 1,431 rushing yards. But again, it's not feasible for him to carry this offense every year. So that's the main part from this team. You need to add in some more upgrades, if you like, for the offense. You can see here very similar between the two sides of the ball, offense and defense. Again, very similar. So upgrading that offense and obviously additions in the defense is necessary for this team to succeed this year. To go with Anthony Richardson, brought in Daniel Jones and named Daniel Jones a starter. Drafted Tyler Warren, who's a fairly decent pass catcher from college football last year. But again, outside of that, didn't really do too much on the offensive side of the ball. Pittman Jr. comes back, Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, being Daniel Jones's pass catchers. I'm not high on Daniel Jones, I'm going to say that now. But in terms of their defense, looks good on paper. Obviously, you got Zaire Franklin, Latu, DeForest Buckner. Bringing in Tre'Davious Ward is a nice addition from the Chiefs. Cam Bynum as well coming in, and Xavier Howard linking up with Kenny Moore. So maybe their defense can be a lot better than the offense this year, but I'm not high on this offense. And I don't think it'll do anywhere near as what it did last year. Next up will be the Jacksonville Jaguars. Again, another team to struggle really last year. They, their output was fairly. Just show here. Defensively, obviously, a lot better than the offense. Had ups and downs on defense. They were susceptible to big plays, and obviously their depth was a huge issue. Offensively, didn't do too well. 18 points per game on average, 38 touchdowns for the team. But again, Trevor Lawrence, he's in that sort of stage where he got given a big contract and he sort of didn't deliver. And in fact, he got benched for Mac Jones, and Mac Jones probably played a little bit better. Turnovers were a big thing. 15 turnovers for the offense. And Brian Thomas Jr. had a nice year, 10 touchdowns, but outside of that, there's no one here. There's no one helping. Tank Bigsby did what he could, but there's just nothing happening on that defensive side of the ball, or offensive side of the ball. Defensively, Trayvon Walker, sack leader. Outside of him, hardly anyone. Josh Allen, obviously, doing it every year. Interceptions, non-existent. So it was just a mixed bag for this team last year. And then in the draft and in the off season, released Ronald Darby. Christian Kirk left via a trade. Obviously got that huge pick in Travis Hunter, who can play both sides of the ball. So they do have Brian Thomas and Travis Hunter for Trevor Lawrence to throw to, which is, it sounds nice. You got Josh Allen still. Eric Armstead comes in from the 49ers too. But again, I think it's another team that hasn't really done enough within this offseason to boost them into contention for this division. And obviously, like I said before, it's not a tough division. So yeah, I don't think they've done enough either. Tennessee Titans, I was actually relatively high on them last year. I thought they would do a lot better than what they actually did. They showed some strengths on defense. I was high on their defense last year. See here the stats they had last year. Allowed 51 touchdowns, 470 total points. But this says a lot without saying anything, if that makes sense. Total points per game for the offense was 18. For defense, it was 27. It was a really poor offense, and it was a relatively good defense. It just doesn't show on paper because the defense was on the field a lot longer than the offense. The offense didn't help the defense at all. So the defense was actually okay. The main weakness was the offense. Will Levis wasn't good. Tony Pollard did okay. Calvin Ridley did good. But outside of those, nothing really going on. So that was a main area for improvement in the offseason was their offense as a whole. Defensively, had a lot of contributors in the tackle area. Sacks, got a relatively large amount of sacks. Let's see how many they got here. 32 sacks. Interceptions. Amani Hooker had 5. So defensively played relatively well. It was just as I said, their offense that was the problem. That's basically what they did. Drafted Cam Ward to take Will Levis out of the game. Cam Ward, one of the best deep passes in the league last year. Calvin Ridley, one of the best deep receivers last year. Bringing in Tyler Lockett and Van Jefferson for some depth receivers for Cam Ward. Obviously, Tony Pollard comes back. Add in a few players. Cushenberry in the centre position. Kevin Zeitler as well. JC Latham. A lot of decent names on the offensive line to help protect Cam Ward. So they definitely invested in that area of the field. On defense, Jeffrey Simmons, Sweat, Joseph Day being a very nice pass rush. Arden Kay bringing in Ladarius Sneed last year as well. Amani Hooker, Xavier Woods. They've got some really nice names across this whole team. It's just whether or not they can bond and they can keep Cam Ward protected enough to be able to find Calvin Ridley, Tyler Lockett, Van Jefferson, on those deep balls or in those slants that Tyler Lockett likes to play. So I think they can be a nice competitive team this year, and I actually think they'll finish higher than what they did last year. So my prediction for the AFC South: Houston Texans first, Tennessee Titans second, Indianapolis Colts third, and then Jacksonville Jaguars fourth. The AFC West, and we're going to start off with the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, everyone knows about this team: Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Pacheco, even bringing in Kareem Hunt back from last year. Had a solid season. 15 wins, 2 losses on the year, winning the division again. As a team, playing relatively well. 385 points for, 42 touchdowns, averaging 22 points per game. Defensively, solid as always. Steve Spagnuolo does a very, very good job on defense, averaging 19 points per game, allowing just 32 touchdowns. Obviously, huge strength is having Patrick Mahomes, Kareem Hunt, Isaiah Pacheco as well. Those two playing really well together. Obviously, Pacheco missing time through injury. Travis Kelce, a little bit of an issue with their wide receiving options. DeAndre Hopkins didn't do too much. Rashee Rice was out, suspended as well for the beginning of the next season. Hollywood Brown didn't do anything at all. Xavier Worthy is a good receiver though, so I do expect good things from this wide receiver. They did have a few problems on the pass protection, but again, he made it work. They did fairly well defensively, like I said, very, very well. Maybe a little bit more depth in the offensive line, and with that, they did sign Jalen Moore for a little bit of depth on defense. Signed Elijah Mitchell as well for a third running back, so they could have a triple header in the backfield. Nick Bolton got a new contract. Marquise Brown comes back. Juju Smith comes back. Joe Thuney did go to the Bears. Justin Reed did leave, and DeAndre Hopkins has left. They did also get rid of Sky Moore, but the team seems pretty solid all over. Didn't lose too many big names. Didn't obviously add too many big names, but this team can contend whenever it wants anyway. So the Kansas City Chiefs in a good position again to win this division. And for the Chiefs next year, Los Angeles Chargers were probably one of the better teams in this division. If you look at their offense, it was actually better than the Chiefs. 402 total points for, 301 against for the team. But again, very, very good defensive team. It was very balanced. again, nice defense for the Chargers. Quarterback is obviously very, very good. Justin Herbert, I'm a big fan of Justin Herbert. Ladd McConkey coming in last year as well, played very, very well. J.K. Dobbins with Gus Edwards, both coming from the Ravens from the year before. But yeah, just all around solid offense. Occasional issues with sort of offense stalling, but in terms of their off season for this upcoming season, they needed to add a little bit more depth within the defensive side of the ball. Amarion Hampton comes in. Najee Harris comes in as well in the running back room. Keenan Allen does come back. He makes his return. Maybe a farewell tour. Offensive line is pretty similar to last year. A few names added into this defensive unit. But again, nothing really notable where any sort of moves stand out. If you like. But yeah, again, I think they can be a bit of a thorn in the Chiefs' side next year, as can this Denver Broncos team. Last year, 10-7, offensively played very well again. Another team that played offensively better than the Chiefs. It produced some nice point scoring games within last season. You can see here when it comes up. Averaging 25 points per game, 225 total points, 44 touchdowns defensively as well. Another solid defensive team, and that was sort of the standard for this division. Really, is a nice offense partnered with a decent defense. Cortland Sutton being the wide receiver one, very good pass catcher for Bo Nix. Obviously, Bo Nix coming in as a rookie last year, playing very well. 3,775 total passing yards, 29 passing touchdowns, 12 interceptions, so very efficient as well. Defensively, had a few players that contributing to tackles on a weekly basis. Sack leaders McMillan and Locke getting 10, not 10, sorry. Cooper, Allen, and Paterno getting some nice sack margin for the team. Interceptions were pretty well spaced out for the team as well. But again, another team that just needed a little bit more depth pieces in the off season. Bringing in a few nice additions on offense was a nice addition. RJ Harvey being drafted in, Evan Ingram coming in, and there's a few. Mike McGlinchey coming in not coming in, but joining last year was a nice addition for this team anyway. Defensively, Dre Greenlaw being the main one coming in from the 49ers to help solidify the middle of the field. And I've literally just seen that Micah Parsons has been traded to the Packers, which is a huge one. So yeah, the Denver Broncos can definitely be a contender within this division next year. Okay, so then the final team we're going to be talking about is the Las Vegas Raiders. 4 wins, 13 losses last year. Struggled on offense, struggled on defense. We can see here their stats: averaging 18 points per game, allowing 25 on average, so it's a 1 touchdown differential for the two teams on both sides of the ball. 29 touchdowns in total for the team. Sort of the only upside to this offense was Brock Bowers. Had some decent pieces on defense. Robert Spillane leading the team in total tackles. Outside of that, nothing much really going on. So that was their goal for the offseason, was to try and upgrade that quarterback room, upgrade the pass catching players and the offensive weapons really for this quarterback, and that's what they did. They got Geno Smith, had a really good year last year with the Steelers. Raheem Mostert comes in with Ashton Genty being drafted in the first round. Amari Cooper comes back, linking up with Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers. And then defensively, obviously, Max Crosby getting that huge deal earlier on in the offseason Devin White coming in, Jamal Adams coming in, Jeremy Chin, Eric Stokes. So adding some nice pieces all over the field. I still don't believe it's going to be enough to be able to contend for this division. I still think it's going to be the Broncos, Chiefs and Chargers leading the way. But I do think they can add some more wins to their 4 wins that they had last year. But in terms of my AFC prediction, I'm going to go for the Broncos in first, Chiefs second, Chargers third, and the Raiders in fourth. All wrapped up. That's the AFC conference all broken down. The NFC conference also broken down. As always, remember to go over to my Twitter and my YouTube. Drop me a subscription and a follow. If you do not want to miss any one of these previews, make sure you drop the notifications, click the bell, turn notifications on, so you do not miss a single thing. And yeah, that's pretty much me done for the day. Next episode will be in a couple of days, where I will be breaking down my future bets for the NFL. Obviously, I'll be linking up with daily college bets as well. We'll have a few collaborations on future bets as well, and then obviously I'm also going to have the fantasy football side of things as well. So make sure you like, retweet, subscribe, follow on all social media. Try and get this out as far as possible. Help me help more people win more money. So that's me done for the day. I'll catch you later.